What are we gonna do today, brain? The same thing we'll do every video, Becky. Try and take over the world. With science! Hello, my name's Rebecca and I'm a neuroscientist here to talk to you today about all things neuro and science. But in this video, instead of talking about a specific neuroscience topic, I instead wanted to start a new series in which I try and give you all the skills you need to engage in the wonderful world of academic neuroscience for yourself. And what better place to start than by asking the question, how the hell do you read academic research? Academia can be a daunting place for the uninitiated, a land filled with people who no longer speak English, but this weird jargon filled with, frankly, complete nonsense phrases. Even to me, it still sometimes feels like I'm watching an episode of Star Trek rather than reading real research.
Could it be law?
No, sir. My brother's positronic brain has a type L phase discriminating amplifier. Mine is a type R.
Type R?
Yes, sir.
Who knows what type R brains are? My theory is that type L are left-brained and type R are right-brained, so each data only really uses one half of their brain, which of course we know is silly based on my last video on the topic. So, to make all this a little less intimidating, I wanted to share with you the deep, dark secret that all academics keep. Come closer. Little closer. You ready? None of us understand it all either. We specialise into our niches, which I just about understand, but if I travel even slightly outside of my comfort zone in science, I enter a world I don't get at all. As I tell my students, not getting a piece of research isn't because you're daft or stupid, it's because it's written in the secret language of science and academia that you only really get used to once you start to read a lot of it. But the other secret is, you don't need to understand all of it in order to understand the broad points that are being said. If someone, room, fifth word, the odds are you'd still be able to put together a decent idea of what they're actually talking about. Just look at people who read lips and they'll tell you it's mostly guesswork. Apply the same logic to academic research. You don't have to understand every tiny little nitty-gritty detail to understand what the science is saying. So, with that in mind, if you'd like to start reading research for yourself on neuroscience or any other topic, before you do anything else, please remember to be kind and patient with yourself. Don't be put off by technobabble or downtrodden by weird phrases like type R. Just focus on the big picture and the little details will come with time. But once we've got our mind set, the next question becomes, okay, how do you actually start reading? And I think a good starting point here is looking at the types of research that you might come across as you venture out over the academisphere. Number 1, original research articles. These bad boys usually clock in at a few thousand words and centre on a new bit of research or a technique. They nearly always have 4 sections: an introduction, methods, results, and discussion. Hot take, most of the time, you can safely ignore the middle 2 sections. They'll be the most dense and technical, and they won't add that much to what you'll get from the other 2 sections. See, the job of the introduction is to summarise the field that this research slots into, and therefore explain why this research is actually necessary. Reading the last line of the introduction should essentially give you a 1-sentence summary of why this research is needed, which can be a great starting point if you're reading a paper. The discussion takes these new results and puts them back into the context of the wider academic world. Why are these results important? Are there any limitations of the research? What are the future directions that other researchers can come and run with? The first line of the discussion is also your friend, as it will usually summarise the headline result. Sometimes that might be all you need. The second kind of research you'll find a lot of are reviews. These are your bestest friends. There's no need for you to pore over hundreds of original research articles when someone else has already done you the favour of putting them all in one place. Yes! Reviews are considered the highest forms of evidence in science because we're not just basing our conclusions on a single study anymore, but in some cases, thousands of them. Now, not all reviews are created equally, and there's a few important distinctions to be made. Narrative reviews are essentially the authors stringing together lots of different studies into an overarching narrative. They should still be relatively unbiased, but just bear in mind that the author does get to choose what studies to include and not include, so there's a bit of wiggle room there. Systematic reviews, on the other hand, have no room to wiggle. See, systematic reviews systematically review, there's no better way to put that, they systematically review all of the available literature on a given topic. It takes a lot of work from researchers to screen through hundreds or thousands of research articles to find all the ones that are relevant to this particular field. There are a lot of guidelines on how to do this properly, and these systematic reviews are taken very seriously as their own category of research. Meta-analyses go a step further, not only combining the research together, but also combining the results together to create a grand mathematical conclusion. If you're looking to get a lay of the land fast, use reviews. But, where should you go to find the reviews? Another great question. Scientists have their own journals and websites for keeping track of all the research that is published. Nature is perhaps the most famous scientific journal in the world. From the discovery of the DNA double helix to quarks, it's been at the fore of scientific research for a very long time. But it's far from being the only journal out there. In fact, there are hundreds of the things on basically every topic you can imagine. So your best bet for navigating all of these journals is using a search engine. Just like you'd Google anything else, you can use Google Scholar to find academic articles that are relevant to you, or sites like PubMed. Unfortunately, not all of this may be freely available to you. We've been working really hard in science to make sure our research is open access, which means it should be freely available to everyone on the internet. But especially older research may still be stuck behind one of those pesky paywalls. Now, a trick to get around this, if you find a paper you really want to read that's trapped behind a pesky paywall, you could always, very politely, email the corresponding author, usually indicated with a little star or a little asterisk so you know which one of the many authors it is, and they might be able to send it to you. But Rebecca, I hear you say, for that is my name, what about papers that aren't in journals? See, the COVID-19 pandemic kind of changed the way we do research. Science was coming out so fast that these big, slow journals just couldn't quite keep up. And so we saw the birth of another type of paper, the preprint. Preprint servers like bioRxiv and medRxiv let researchers upload their work for the world to see quick and free. They're a great source of information, but approach them with just a touch more caution. You see, all the papers published in journals like Nature have been what we call peer-reviewed. This means that other experts have looked at the research, challenged it, and deemed it scientifically sound. No one has done that for our preprints, which means we can't guarantee that all the research on there is of the highest quality in the world. But most of it probably is. Just grain of salt. Little grain of salt. And up until about 5 years ago, that's how we did our reading. Searching these big databases using keywords to find recent, relevant reviews that would then signpost us to hundreds more original research articles that you can go and read for yourself, entering into a wonderful rabbit hole filled with research. But in recent years, that white rabbit has been replaced by robotics. Specifically, artificial intelligence. Websites like Consensus and Elicit.com can make it even easier to find relevant research to you, and they'll even summarize it. Unlike ChatGPT, which is a big black box pulling things from all corners of the internet. Help. These websites will list the academic papers that they got their information from, which means you can go and check them out for yourself. One of my favourite techniques is to use Consensus to find a recent relevant review and then to take that over to another site called Connected Papers, which will make a web of academic research connected to your original prompt. This leaves me with a whole load of research articles that I can go off and explore on my own. Ultimately, it's up to you if you'd like to use artificial intelligence in your reading, with all of the pros and cons that it involves. But ultimately, whether you use new technology or that slightly older approach, you should hopefully get to the same research eventually. Finally, if you plan on doing any serious academic reading, you'll benefit from downloading what we in the biz call a reference manager, and Zotero is one you can download for absolutely free. Zotero has extensions in search engines, meaning when you find a paper, you can download it to Zotero with the click of a button and have it saved for future use. If the paper is open access, so available for free, it will even download a PDF that you can highlight and annotate. This allows you to keep all your research in one place, and if you're a student who plans on writing that research up into a paper, it is even more useful, as there are also extensions in Word which let you do all your references and citations with the click of a button. Saved me hours. So, go forth and explore the wonderful world of academic reading for yourself. If you don't trust me, good! Go forth and find papers that prove me wrong. In future videos, I'm going to try and more reliably cite my sources so that you can go away and research them for yourself. But remember, just because research doesn't click for you immediately, doesn't mean you're not destined to be a science lover. Crash Course, TED Talks, and heck, even the news can be great sources of scientific know-how. But with the ability to read research for yourself, you can always go and check the information they give you. And that's all the time we have. So if you have any suggestions for future videos or questions about the topics we've covered today, please do leave a comment down below and I'll see if I can find someone procrastinating their PhD long enough to reply. Other than that, it's time for me to go back to the lab and plan what I'm going to do for the next video. But until then, please do let me know of any progress you make in trying to take over the world with science!